If you just had a new business idea but you never had a business before, what you do next is absolutely crucial and will decide if your business will be successful or not. At the same time, as a first-time founder, as a person that has never done this before, especially this stage can feel super overwhelming. And trust me, I've been there because a couple of years ago I had a business idea but no clue on what to do next. And I had to figure out everything by myself, which eventually ended in a 7-figure business, but it took me 3 years and a lot of frustration to get there. So in this video, I want to go through the 5-step framework that helped me to go from business idea to MVP to first paying customer and eventually to a 7-figure business. Hi, my name is Simon, and in this week's video, I want to dive deep into the #1 problem that I see when I talk to first-time founders. And this #1 thing that first-time founders do wrong is that once they have a business idea, they start building it immediately. And that doesn't really sound wrong at first glance, but let me explain. Because what often happens is that people start immediately building the product or vision that they have without really validating the business idea first, which means that they spend a lot of time, money, and energy to launch it 2 years later, maybe down the line, only to then realize that no one really wants to buy it. So you understanding that you have to first validate your business idea and understand if someone wants to pay money for the finished product in the future will already set you apart from 99% of first-time founders. Serial entrepreneurs or people that have founded multiple businesses over the long period of time understand this basic idea, which is why their chances of success are 2 times higher than first-time founders. If you currently have a business idea but no clue what to do next, watch this video, because by the end of this video you will know exactly what to focus on and how to think like a serial entrepreneur, which will drastically increase your chances of success. So let's dive straight into it. Before diving into the 5 steps, I quickly want to give some context about the business idea that I validated back then. And the problem that we came across back then was that 3 out of the 10 most plastic polluting companies were actually in business selling cleaning products. And our solution to this plastic waste problem in the cleaning market was basically a small tablet that you could just drop into your existing cleaning bottle that you already have at home. You fill it up with tap water, and the small tablet turns your tap water into effective cleaning liquid, which basically meant that your spray bottle that you have at home can be reused forever and will no longer contribute to any plastic waste. Eventually, we ended up with over 15,000 paying online customers in our e-commerce shop and a retail network with over 600 stores actually physically selling our products in their shelves. But before this, there was only an idea that we somehow had to turn into a product. So now we can dive into the 5 steps that we took to go from idea to product to eventually our first paying customer. So this is basically where everything started, because back then in November we were still studying at Lund University, and that was basically when the project Soaplets, how we still called ourselves back then, was born. And what followed next was basically nothing else but just a sequence of experiments that we conducted one after another to understand if the product that we're building or this concept that we just came up with actually have the potential that we thought it had. And the first experiment or the first step that we did was just basic market research, which meant that we just wanted to have an overview of the market that we wanted to enter back then, which basically included just a simple keyword search, like scan some social media of like potential competitors. We also made a list of indirect versus direct competitors, and we also paid attention to the maturity and the size of those competitors. And if you're at this stage right now and you had your business idea and you maybe typed it into Google and you found out that it already exists, you have to really remember one thing, and that is competition can actually be a good thing. Because most first-time founders make this mistake and say someone did it already, which is something that I think should never be said. Because just the mere fact that something already exists or something similar already exists doesn't mean that you can either do it better, faster, cheaper, or whatever. You can always find an angle to just, improve what is already out there. Plus, if there is already some early stage competition, that means that there is probably something in the market that makes sense for those companies to exist, which basically means that there could be some potential for your business idea. And one thing that I always tell first-time founders is don't be afraid to talk about your business idea, because in the rarest cases, someone actually takes your idea, runs it with it, and makes it a huge success. So most of the time, when you start talking about your idea, you will actually realize if that is something that other people are interested in or intrigued by, or if it's something that they just don't care about it at all. And that can often then be also taken as indication that maybe the business idea is not as great as you thought it was. So first step, very simple, just don't be afraid and Google your idea. And if it comes up and someone did it before, don't throw the idea immediately out of the window, because there might be still some potential for you. So once we had completed the market research phase and we kind of identified that there are some direct competitors, but also some indirect competitors, we moved on to the second step, which was basically just to visualize our concept. And all we did in this phase was that we took our idea and put it into a 3D rendering, something that didn't take us longer than just a weekend, and with today's technology can probably be even done in like a couple hours. And trust me when I say this, that visualizing your idea was a complete early stage game changer, because visualizing in any shape or form was so much easier to just grab attention and explain this vision and the innovation part behind it to other people. Because all of a sudden we were not just pitching and talking and describing the idea on a theoretical basis, but I was actually able to pull out my phone and show them this renders. And for the first time I could even see their reaction to this photo, which told me immediately if they liked it, if they were interested, or if they thought it was just some stupid idea. But it did not only help us to express our idea to the external world, but it also helped us to set some internal agendas, because all of a sudden we had something like a goal to work towards, and all of a sudden we were able to align on like a design language, on a brand language, and we knew what needed to be done in order to put this render into actual reality. And visualizing your idea is not only crucial if you have a physical product, but also if you plan to launch a software or a platform or something like that. Just mocking up something that is just remotely resembling anything that you actually want to build in the future, like a finished product, will be an absolute game changer for you to just communicate and express your idea to others. And once we finally had those visualizations in place, like those digital mock-ups, we of course talked a lot to our direct network of friends, family, and people that we knew that were in our social circles. But we quickly realized that, of course, there is some kind of a bias, right? If you talk to friends or your mom or whatever, they will always encourage you to do this because it's kind of exciting. So that's when we knew, okay, we kind of have to start asking strangers. And to do that on a mass scale, we decided to run some social media ads. And mind you that at this stage, we didn't have anything else but just some digital mock-ups of the product that we wanted to build in the future. We didn't have any samples or supply chain or products or whatever. So what we decided to do was just to create a simple landing page, have a call to action on this page where we asked the people to sign up in order to test early stage prototypes, and then we just drove some traffic through paid social and organic social onto that landing page with a budget of around 500 euros. That was just the money that we had available at this moment. You can also do more, or you can do less, or you can also do it completely organic. That's totally up to you. But back then we started monitoring soft KPIs like comments, likes, and shares. How much engagement are those posts getting? We also start measuring hard KPIs like the click-through rate, the conversion rate, session time, and so on. But also, to be fair, we kind of combined like a little bit of a gut feeling with this data, because by only spending 500 euros, you will probably not get any representative data. And based on this data and paired with this gut feeling that we then had to define if those experiments, the social media ads, were successful or not. And back then we were able to determine that this experiment for us was a success, because after only spending 500 bucks, we had 300 people willing to sign up and wanting to test our products. So basically this was a very fast and cheap market validation, and we were able to indicate that there's some kind of interest around this product, and the results of this experiment really encourage us to move ahead to the next step. So now that we have basically indicated that there is some kind of interest in the market, we decided that we had to dig deeper, because up until now everything that we have done was just barely scratching the surface, because we didn't have any deep insights about the customer persona, about the pain point, about the solution, about what they value about the product, and so on. So at this point we really decided to dive deep, and in order to dive deep we decided to build our first prototype, because mind you, we're still at a stage where we had nothing to show for. Everything was just based on this digital mock-up. So we made the decision to go from a visual mock-up to our first physical prototype. And that was a tremendous support when we started pitching our product. Because again, it was a difference between day and night, between just showing a picture and actually having something to hold for people to, smell, to experience, to see how they would drop the tablet inside the water, how it would dissolve in the water. And all of a sudden it came from a 2D kind of visual prototype to an actually 4D real world thing. And what that did was that it really created some excitement, because all of a sudden we realized how people would, take those products, what they would look at first, how they would treat it, how they would use it. And that gave us again so much more insights. But the most important reason why we decided to go from a visual mock-up to a physical prototype was that it was absolutely essential for the next experiment that we wanted to conduct. Because once we had something that we can hold in our hand and actually show to potential customer, we then decided to do our fourth experiment, which was basically in-depth customer interviews. And that was really the time when we started to dig deep and ask the question that we feared deep down can actually kill our business. Back then we interviewed over 75 potential customers, which we interviewed in person or over the phone or in online meetings. And we really wanted to understand what exactly the customer values about their current cleaning solutions that they have. And we also wanted to build up a deep understanding of what the customer actually does not care about at all with cleaning liquids. What was crucial in this experiment was that we really had to steer against our intuition of not asking the question that we were fearing deep down could actually kill our business. So if you're in this stage, you really have to jump over your shadow, come out of this comfort zone and use this opportunity to really ask the question that you feel deep down could kill your business in the future, because you want to have those answers right now and not 2 years ahead of time when you're actually scaling up and you knew all along that this one question that you didn't ask back then was actually able to kill your business. So ask the heavy hitters at exactly this stage. And then based on this customer feedback, you go back to the drawing board and you iterate your idea and start building a product that is actually based on the customer feedback instead of like whatever you have in mind or something that you want to build yourself. Because your vision can be as great as it gets, but you really want to build something that is based on the customer feedback, because eventually your customers have to buy your product and not yourself. Back then, we went back to the drawing board and really wrote down our key takeaways. So what followed then was that we took all those insights from all of those experiments that we have conducted up until here, and we really started building from a prototype towards an MVP, which basically meant that there were constant improvements going on and iteration. We did cleaning tests professionally and ourselves. We tested different bottle designs, we were tweaking the chemical formula of the tablet, and we were experimenting with different fragrance samples and color samples as well. At this stage, we had to realize that we just have to become more professional, because none of us had a chemical background and we were just basically experimenting with stuff that we could just find online. We were ordering citric acid and sulfates and just mixing them together and pressing them into tablets, but it wasn't really advanced at all. So in order to build something that was actually an MVP that we could actually charge money for, we had to go from the student basement into the lab. And that's when we decided to partner up with a local chemical consultancy service, which were basically chemical experts that then got staffed on our tablet project. And they started solving problems that we didn't even know that we had. And then a couple months later, we finally got the phone call from the chemical consultancy telling us that they have developed 3 distinct cleaning formulas and they have found all the ingredients. And it was basically the recipe to a cake that we are now able to bake. So what we did was that we took this chemical formula and we found some manufacturing that basically was focusing on pressing dishwasher tablets, and we came there with our formula, and we really expected that we just give them this recipe, they buy all the ingredients, they mix it together, they put it in their super expensive tablet pressing machine, and out come those beautiful like 2-layered tablets. However, how it always is in entrepreneurship, us the founders, we were way too optimistic about the results that we were able to get from this. Because instead of some nice tablets, we almost ruined this 500,000 euro machine of this dishwasher tablet producer, because the pistons started sticking to each other and it was a total mess. So then obviously we had to go back, iterate a lot of time, and it took us quite some time in order to tweak the formula so that it doesn't ruin the tablet pressing machine and that we also get a good looking tablet out of it. That was something that we completely underestimated and that took us way longer than we thought. However, after a lot of tweaking, a lot of communication, a lot of convincing the tablet producer to give it another try, we finally had an MVP, which basically meant that we had 3 separate tablets that were able to dissolve in water and turn tap water into effective cleaning liquid. And now that we finally had an MVP, like a physical product in our hands, which admittedly had a lot of flaws back then, but something that, you know, was actually developed by us, we decided to move to the last stage, which was then to gather actual insights from people using the product. And what we did was that we basically went back to the 300 people that originally signed up to test our product and started sending them out for free, just in exchange for some feedback on our tablets. We basically just built a simple questionnaire. We sent out those MVPs to around 200 people and then started gathering those insights and really quickly realized where we stand with this MVP and if it's ready to launch or not. And based on those 200 people testing our products and giving us this actual super valuable customer feedback, we were then able to iterate our tablets and improve the product based on this customer feedback. And that was an absolute game changer, because the difference between our version 1.0 that we sent out to those testers and the version 2.0 was pretty much a difference between day and night. So now you see how much work we actually put into this before launching our product, just to understand if this concept or this business idea that we had actually the potential that we thought it has. One thing I really want to highlight though is that we at our first company could have also launched way earlier than we did back then. And this is basically a quote by Reid Hoffman that I have highlighted here. And he says, "If you're not embarrassed by the first version of your product, you have launched too late." And honestly, we could have launched our product already at a prototype stage. Of course, we would have a lot of upset customers, but the only thing that you can do about that is just refund them, and then you will know for sure that you have launched too late. But especially first-time founders always launch their product too late. Because what you can do is that you can just put it on the market, see if people want to pay for it, and you will very quickly realize where the product flaws are, and you can just go from there. Having your product out there, trying to sell it to people, trying to solve the people's problem with your solution is the most effective market validation that you can ever get. So I encourage you to just stop building whatever you have going on and just launch it and see what happens. And the final thing also, now of course in hindsight, like all those experiments look like very structured and like building upon each other, which they were, of course, to an extent. But most of the time as an entrepreneur, you don't really feel like there's this red line or like that you always know exactly what to do. But most of the time, and this is also how we felt doing this, you will basically feel like this guy. So that you have a lot of balls in the air and you're just trying to, delete some fires that are popping off everywhere. And you have to really practice the skill of identifying what is the one thing that I should be working on that will get me to the next stage in order to, get the data that I need in order to make a confident decision. And that is one of the most important skills that you can have as an entrepreneur, and a skill that will be developed over time the more businesses you start. And that is exactly the reason why serial entrepreneurs and people like Elon Musk and all of those people are so damn good at what they do, because they've been doing it so many times and they just know exactly what to focus on. So now I hope that you have a little bit more clarity on what you do after you have your business idea. The first step is just to do some desk research. Then I would highly recommend it to visualize your idea in some shape, way or form. I've always run good with social media ads, but of course there are also other ways of like testing if other people want to pay for your product, and that could be Instagram DMs or cold calling or stuff like that. But you really have to get from your desk out there and just start talking to people. Then of course you need an MVP or like some kind of prototype or like some clickable thing, the simplest version that can still solve the problem that you intend to solve down the line. And that doesn't have to be anything scalable. It can also be just an Excel sheet or something like that, but it just has to be something that people will pay money for. And then the last thing is that as soon as you have an MVP, just don't launch too late. Just go out there and gather that market insights. Subscribe to my channel, leave a comment below this video if you want more videos like this, because I upload weekly videos for first-time founders to go from stuck being doom scrolling and like having all this ambition, but that never translates into actual reality. Then how to find your business idea, how to validate your business idea, how to find your first paying customer, and then eventually to scale to your first €1 million in revenue as well. So drop a like, comment below, and subscribe to my channel, and see you in the next one.